I got a f***ing speeding ticket. It must have been from CVS because I've got all this with it. So I was doing 40 in a 25 mile per hour zone. I did it. I was speeding. I was in a hurry. I was trying to get around some cars that were getting backed up behind someone who was turning, and I got caught. And I'm not here to complain about the police. He got me fair and square. $210 ticket with a 4-hour safe driving course, which I can't wait to do. What I did want to talk about, however, is unintended consequences. I received a ticket for 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. But for the most part, everyone drives between 30 and 35 miles per hour on this 4-lane stretch of road. And were the limit on this stretch of road to be what most people travel at, I would have only been over by about 5 miles per hour. For the most part, speeds of 30 to 35 miles per hour generally tolerated on this stretch of road, and there's no reason the limit couldn't be 35. But I think they fear if they changed it to 35, everyone would regularly drive 45. I find most roads to be like this. The limit is artificially low to get everyone into a general range of a safe speed. We've all become accustomed to exceeding the speed limit by a socially accepted amount. If you drive the actual speed limit, you get nasty looks and honks, and adjusting these limits to what they should be is tricky because you need to change a lot of behavior and a bunch of social norms. Complex dynamic systems are hard to control, and when you try to, oftentimes you end up in a worse place than where you started. This is true of computer systems, the economy, healthcare, etc. And security is a great example of this. Over the years, we have seen the rise of a lot of compliance and regulatory standards. In general, these efforts have been really good. Sarbanes-Oxley, PCI, WebTrust, FFIEC, etc., etc., etc. They have all forced businesses to generally operate more responsibly by forcing them to spend time and money on things they had previously ignored. I have lived through many compliance audits in my time. Compliance standards vary greatly. Some are prescriptive, like PCI and ISO 27001, and some are not so much, like Sarbanes-Oxley and SSA 16 SOC 2, which allow you to set your own controls. Controls are the standards by which an organization evaluates its compliance. You can have a company that adheres tightly to its controls, but those controls may themselves be weak and ineffectual. And when evaluating a company's SOC 2, for example, it's important to evaluate its controls as well. For many of these compliance frameworks, they're a snapshot of a point in time, like PCI, while others are evaluated over a period of time, like SOC 2. Even though a PCI audit is a snapshot in time, when things change, say you make a change to a firewall, you are supposed to re-audit to make sure you are still in compliance. However, in the real world, much like driving the speed limit, this rarely happens. For standards like PCI, you have very specific requirements you need to fulfill. And this is not always practical for every environment for many reasons. Sometimes it's impossible to satisfy competing requirements. Sometimes legacy products lack the required features of functionality. And sometimes upgrades are required, but those upgrades break other things. Sometimes certain architectures have security features built in that are different than the standard prescribes, and it would break security to be in compliance. And this is where we get into the world of compensating controls. Compensating controls allow you to put in place different policies, procedures, or tools to compensate for what is missing. For example, say you have a system that has Telnet on it, which is forbidden in the PCI world. But that system may be completely air-gapped or not connected to anything in a locked and controlled room. That would be an adequate compensating control, most likely. Of course, some of this depends on your QSA or qualified security assessor and how they would interpret the situation. Where the problem can come in is when you start adapting a lot of compensating controls. Oftentimes, these require manual interventions, extra steps, strange architectures, or tools to be put in place. At some point, the compensating controls themselves create security problems. I've seen this happen many times over the years. In pursuit of compliance, people often compromise security. Remember that most problems are the result of people making mistakes. Just like with high availability, the more complex a system grows, the more unpredictable it typically becomes, and the more unintended consequences you experience. With the implementation of GDPR, for example, General Data Protection Regulation, I see a lot of sites asking me to click on a button saying, I accept the fact that they use cookies. This is a terrible idea that greatly reduces security. For the most part, we are all aware that sites use cookies. What this practice does is desensitize people to clicking buttons on random websites just to get rid of annoying boxes. This is training people to adopt very bad behavior, and it will likely come back to bite us all with future exploits. This is why it is so important to design security into the system from the start with a focus on simplicity. As systems have become more distributed and complex, we are solving for many of the availability and maintainability challenges, but security still remains a very elusive and difficult issue. So I've got to go off and pay this speeding ticket and deal with 4 hours of safe driving school, which I cannot wait for. But thanks for watching, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and if anyone knows of a good lawyer, let me know. This coming weekend, January 26th, 2020, I will be shaving my head for St. Baldrick's. So please click this link and give what you can. And anything we can do to help fund initiatives to find a cure for cancer is a great thing in my book. So please go to this link and donate what you can. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And I will see you in the next video.